the way he comes on. That's the hard guy to debate with. Okay, now remember I told you about the roaring 20th century and the cybernetic 21st century? I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I see the roaring 20th century. See, you got to realize that I got an advantage down here. I'm 67 years old, see? I've been around for 7 decades. Exciting decades of human history. Boom, 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 fast. One way back to I'm certain that I've been involved in this. So I don't think in decades, you know, people talk about the 60s, 70s, don't talk about take a long view. Centuries, yeah. There's a certain logic in the 20th century. You've been around long enough. So what happened in the 20th century started actually around 1900. Anyhow, the computer people here, they can check my mathematics. So around the year 1900, there were 3 cybernetic, psychedelic, far-out philosopher-physicists who presented a new version of reality, which happens to be the correct view of reality. You know, you had Newtonian physics where the solid General Motors world of force and momentum and energy and work and action, reaction, conservation, all that. Sorry, Newton's great. But I think you got to face the fact that Einstein said first, everything's relative. That means that there's no absolute space and time, and that I'm moving at a certain rate or a certain direction. You are too, so that you and I can have very different perspectives, but it all depends on your viewpoint. Oh, that's heavy duty. And there goes the solid world of the Bible and of all the fundamental conditions. It's gone if you let Einstein run it around loose. And imagine, for example, at the turn of the century, a typical American. Remember that painting by Grant Wood, American Gothic, where you have a guy with a pitchfork and his wife there? We'll call him Mr. and Mrs. Wood, Farmer Wood. They can't have it now. What's this Jewish guy talking about everything else? We don't. Make him up. Yes. Then, though, comes Max Planck. He says, hey, the reality of galaxies, stars, on atoms, of course, it's all made up, not solid, these are all temporary clusters of clouds of probability offline, quanta, I mean, bits, it's a whole, every time you put yourself, you're going to fall through a screen of quantum information energy that's just bubbling around all the time. And I know that sounds like a bad acid trip. But it happens to be the way the universe is wired at the moment. Now, can Farmer Wood handle that? Get ahead of it. Although it is true that they're bending light stars around Mercury and they're getting the atomic bomb going, so these guys are, there's no question of it. Pretty soon we realize that they're not screwing around. And then Heisenberg comes along with a real capper. He says, everybody's reality is subjective, that your reality is determined by your sense organs, which are limited, of course, and by the inputs you use to magnify or extend the sense organs, like microscope, telescope, and so forth, and by the maps or the models that you use. You have to face the fact, Mr. Miss America, you're making your own reality. That can't be. Dr. German guys. And the problem was, too, that these physicists, they couldn't communicate. Why? Because they had to use a real Paleolithic caveman device, chalk on blackboard, so nobody could really understand what these guys are talking about. Okay, here's the situation. We know there's a new reality called quantum reality. And it works. There's no question that that's how the universe and that's how, I don't know, how it's put together. So how are we going to persuade, convince us, ourselves, and Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown, how can we exist in this world, which seems so cold and hallucinatory and bizarre and weird and German and Jewish? Well, at those moments in human history, where it's time for our species to confront a new reality, whether it's going from 4 foot to 2 foot, or whether it's to make face-to-face reality, whatever. There's a certain breed of human beings in every gene pool that come along at that time and make us feel comfortable, to explain, to personalize, to popularize what's really happening. Now, you know who these people are. They are the artists, the musicians, the playwrights, the poets, the mythmakers, the wizards, the jugglers, storytellers, the great scientists, the mischievous physicists. You know who they are. Every epoch in human history, these people come along. And Homer, blind Homer, tells us about go through the winding dark sea of training, go out beyond the those are Hercules. Oh yeah, right, Homer. Let's get him out. So, okay, it has been the obligation of all art, all poetry, all communication in the 20th century to popularize, commercialize, market quantum physics. Now, I started, of course, with the payers. All modern payers, when you come to think of it, is exactly quantum, relativistic, and indeterministic. Expressionism. You write your own thing. Change the Newtonian representational picture. Impressionism, sheets of color. Quantilism, that's pixels, Seurat. Just taking away the eye, the retina, the computer graphic screen, sees things. Dada, surrealism, Salvador Dali, straight Einsteinian physics. You have that thing about the persistence of memory, the melting watches, remember that? That's right out of Einstein. So, look, Farmer Brown's saying, well, mother, these guys are making a lot of money, so there must be something. Then, of course, the writers, all the writers, 20th century, the stream of consciousness, subjective, gonzo journalism, you call it what you want. So, writing, you're not chiseling on a marble, you're getting your own point of view. Of course, the real popularization and personalization of quantum psychology occurred about the year 1920, when a group of really genius auditory engineers and acoustic scientists came along of Afro-American descent. I'm talking, of course, about jazz music, which is perfectly jazz music with symphonic orchestra. There'd be a director, get it? And there'd be 15 violins, they'd all be reading the same notes, playing the same way, and a soloist would read the lines in line. This real factory industrial assembly line stuff. And then Susan marches in, here comes jazz. Improvisation. Don't talk to me, Heisenberg. Just Heisenberg on the clarinet. He's showing how to make your own music. And everybody's syncopating. And you've never heard it played the same way before. And we can do it together. It's not that I'm a crazy solo person going on in my psychedelic canoe up there. You're listening. You're going on with it. And then you take your improv and we merge it together. I mean, that's quantum physics put right out there for our ears to hear. Hey, and then, of course, radio. Yeah, I'm not going to realize what radio did when Farmer Brown and Mrs. Brown got that little appliance and they started dialing and tuning realities with invisible reality, coming through the sky like wizardry. And they loved it. Here's Farmer Brown, digging along here, and he's listening. He's eavesdropping straight. They were at Nuremberg during World War II. And Mrs. Brown, she's awake, she's crying because she's listening. At the moment it's happening, it's like hearing Shakespeare, it's screaming name. She's listening to King of England. Do they ever strong the lonely love? Boo. See, for the first time in history, millions and millions of people could tune in on the same things going on at the same time. FDR during World War II. So, also, for example, there was a radio program in the 20s and 30s called Amos and Andy. You ever hear that? Everybody would stop on Friday night for half hour. Theaters were closed, and everyone would turn on the radio, and these two black guys in the Treasury Taxi Company, and come out of the Gusket and all that. What it meant was they were all listening to the same thing at the same time. Never in human history had more than 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 people attending to the same signal. Now you have millions of them doing it. So that meant that what you're doing here is creating a new species. People that are harnessed by electromagnetic, quantum, physical stuff that old Heisenberg and... Yeah. So, okay, go on. For example, who would have believed that Farmer Grant Wood and his wife, who are down-to-earth, practical farm folk, would accept as reality shivering, jittering little figures predicted on a screen called movies? Well, that's right. Not only did they accept, Farmer Grant would love. See, the first time I think about it, living in his Kansas or Iowa farm, he never had the room.